Welcome to the Thriving Mayor Show, the weekly broadcast featuring former and current mayors who are thriving, sharing their story, insight, wisdom, and viewpoint. Join us and comment on social media as we meet another of the superheroes we elect to lead the rejuvenation of our towns and cities and who serve us all. Visit www.thrivingmayor.com to learn more. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. It's February 24th. I'm Michael Hubicki, the host of the Thriving Mayor Show. And today I'm super happy to have with me Merlyn Recinos, who's the mayor of Igloolik in Nunavut. Good morning, Mayor Recinos. How are you today?
Pretty good, Michael. How are you?
Awesome. So I've just got to ask you the number one Canadian question. How's the weather today?
We actually have a little bit of a blizzard in Igloolik. It's not a full developed blizzard, but we do have, I think, winds are around 60 knots, blowing snow. And so, yeah.
Wow.
The last few days have been sunny, though. So it's okay.
Yeah, I love the sun. It got sunny here, too, for a bit. So 60 knots. Wow, that's a lot. That's like 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it's reaching about 100 kilometers an hour. It's been dying down a little bit, so I'm looking out my window right now. So, probably a little bit less, probably around the 60, maybe a little bit less than 60 kilometers an hour right now. But it's been going in and out.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So we'll get back to that in a second. I just want to do a quick little introduction. So Merlyn became the mayor of Igloolik in Nunavut after winning a crowded election in October 2020, and he has big plans for Igloolik. He runs the Arctic Fresh, an independent grocery and dry goods supplier, along with his wife Rhoda, who's the CEO. He's also served as the hamlet's economic development officer prior to being elected. Over the years, he's volunteered his time to assist others in building business capacity, improving their employability skill, and helping out many other residents. So that's really awesome. I just wanted to mention a little bit of how we connected, Merlyn, as well. As I went to Carleton University way back, and got a degree there. So I always kind of watch alumni and what's going on with some of their news feeds. And there was one that came out of the Sprott Business School called Shifting Landscapes. And that caught my eye because I'm also a landscape architect. So Carleton and landscape architecture, I thought, wow, what is this? And I clicked on it, and you were the first person that popped up. And you were talking about the shifting landscape in the north and Igloolik and Nunavut. Especially during the pandemic and how it's been affecting you and some of the things that you have planned. So we definitely want to get back to that a little later in the show, but I just wanted everyone to understand that how the connection. And when I'm researching mayors to invite on the show, it's sometimes it's these little things like that kind of pique my interest. Also, we haven't had anyone from as far north as Igloolik before, so we want to talk a little bit about that. So Merlyn, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Guatemala. I grew up in Guatemala, Huehuetenango, actually, which are the highlands of Guatemala, where it's not too warm, but it's definitely too cold. Every day is nice 20 to 24 degrees. So yeah, that was my childhood.
And so how long did you live there? And then where was the next move?
Yeah, so I lived there until I was 12. And then my dad lived in St. John, New Brunswick. Well, at the time, pretty much when I was growing up in Guatemala, he lived in St. John, New Brunswick. So my dad always wanted us to move to Canada, but my mom was always scared. I had bronchitis and a bunch of lung diseases when I was a kid. So she was scared that the cold was going to hurt me. So she didn't want to make the move to Canada because of the snow and the cold. So she was very hesitant to move. So we did move when I was 12. We moved to New Brunswick. I lived there for until I was 19, and then I started to sort of work in different provinces, and then I moved to Nunavut when I was 21.
Wow, that's awesome. And this may be a bit too personal, but for your lungs, like, what have you noticed the difference between the hot and humid in Guatemala and then New Brunswick, which is pretty cold, but then all the way up to
Yeah.
Igloolik?
Honestly, I never felt better for my lungs in than I do in Igloolik.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually like, I actually haven't had a cold
Yeah.
in years because of the, just how my lungs have adjusted to it. So I actually joke with my mother sometimes, and I said, you actually should have taken me here sooner.
Wow, that's awesome. And has she come to visit you yet?
They did, yeah. They came to visit me actually last in 2019 for Christmas. They came over. My mom, my dad, and my sisters. We They actually got to see what I love about Igloolik, which is this sense of community and coming together. So for Christmas and New Year's, we come together as a community at the community hall, and we play games as a community. We feast as a community. We just enjoy the holidays as a community. So they came over for Christmas and New Year's, and to be honest with you, my sisters didn't want to leave because they actually enjoyed it so much.
Did they bring the warm clothing with them, or did the community share with them, or how did they acclimatize? It must have been minus 30, 40, 50 even.
Yeah, it was definitely extremely cool. They brought some clothing with them, but actually, they ended up using a lot of my dad, my clothing, and my mom and the sisters, my either kids' clothing or my wife's clothing.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you're kind of giving me
Yeah,
goosebumps just talking about your family visiting and not wanting to leave, and that sense of community, and that's what's so spectacular about, especially smaller communities and on an island
yeah,
too.
on
It's
an island. Yeah,
wow. So how do you get to your island?
it's all flown in, so it's
Yeah.
only by air. We have, the schedules have definitely changed because of COVID. Right now, we have about 4 flights in a week. There was times when we used to have up to almost 12 flights a week in for passengers. So it's all flown in, and then during the summer we get one. Well, actually, we get two resupply ships.
Oh, okay. So there's a deep water port.
There's no deep water port. We actually they anchor off probably about 2 kilometers from the community, and
Yeah.
then they use barges to bring the stuff in.
Wow, the logistics of that is really incredible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah, that's really. A couple of friends of mine have done Arctic cruises, and do
Yeah.
those cruise ships stop near your community as well, or?
Um, because where we are, so a lot of the cruise ships actually go around the coasts. We're actually right in the middle of
Yeah,
Canada. I
yeah.
would say we're the center of Canada. So we don't get too many cruise ships in here. We have a couple that have come in, but they have been European cruise ships.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just fascinating. It's. I live on a boat in the summer and just love being on the water. And was in St. John's. Um, oh, your office is phoning. We're so connected.
Yeah.
In Newfoundland, and saw people there that they go out early in the spring and they'll sail up north onto Labrador coast, which is kind of getting up towards around the corner, at least into Nunavut and Baffin Island, and go hunting for icebergs and obviously seal, and not hunting for seal, but looking for wildlife and taking photographs of things like that. So that's really incredible. I have so many questions for you. I'm just trying to keep everything organized in my mind here. Um, you're very entrepreneurial, and I'm just wondering how that early life, Guatemala, the New Brunswick, and then moving along, how that kind of developed your entrepreneurial spirit and that kind of growth, exciting mindset that you obviously have for taking on adventure.
Yeah. To be honest, it was very early at my age where both of those sort of spirits came to me. I run a sort of little store back home when I was probably about 7 or 8.
Wow.
So what I quickly realized, I lived in Guatemala, and we always had to go. We lived in the outskirts of Guatemala, so we always had to go to the city center to get product. So everybody went on Sundays. Okay, Sundays was the day everybody went shopping.
Yeah.
And we always drove in, but every time somebody needed something else, throughout the week, they would have to make the trip in. And it would be probably about 2 hours, by the time you would be back home. So I was like, why don't we have some stuff at home that we're able to sell that people are going to need throughout the week? And then so I actually started having this little store when I was 7 and 8, and it was crazy because it was just growing so much, but then it was sort of affecting my school and everything else that I was doing, that my mother was like, okay, no, you're done with this.
Oh yeah, Merlyn's Market.
Yeah, you got it. And then so that's really how it started for the entrepreneurship, and for Guatemala, it's just beautiful, right? And then so a lot of times we forget to actually explore where we live. We're sort of like just so used to being at home, and that's it. So I used to hang around with my uncles and my cousins, and they would be going on trips on different things, and I would just be like, little kid, just, hey, can I go with you? They probably wanted to say no, stay home, but they wouldn't. They would be like, yeah, sure, come on. And so I started to really explore it. What I quickly realized is that it's just so amazing to meet different people, and that's, we're all different, but at the same time we're all the same. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I really like to do that and explore that, and so that's it. I love it. It's what makes my life even better as I progress.
Yeah, and obviously you have a very strong spirit of servant leadership as well, which is the best kind of leadership. Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, to me, I always tell people that I don't feel as a leader. I don't want to be like, I know that's what I end up being, but I want to be a tool for people that are not able, they feel stuck. They feel like, I want to be a tool for them to utilize to be better.
Yeah.
I want to be a tool for development. I want to be a tool for progress, for well-being.
Yeah, and just mentioning the sense of community and pride and family and togetherness and caring that lights your eyes up, that's so powerful. Yeah, congratulations and kudos to you, Merlyn. That's really fantastic. And for young people that are thinking about politics as well, I mean, this is so critical, especially during times of pandemic, and as we come out of the pandemic, and we're going to be rebuilding and rejuvenating, and things are going to change, and personal care and caring for each other is so absolutely critical.
Well-being. I always said that, if we, and this is what I love about Igloolik and Inuit, is that wealth is not monetary wealth. Wealth is well-being and caring. And so when you value those things above, wealth comes and goes, and that's the reality of it. It's like the stock market. It goes up, it goes down, and fluctuates like crazy. Okay? So you can't really value that because you're always it's going to always be like this, right?
That's the outside value, and you're talking about the inside value.
Inside value, exactly. So if you can't control that, let's value something that we can control. It is that well-being, caring for each other, helping each other, and that is just, you control it. It's sort of your values, so you're able to develop that, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Merlyn, how did you end up in Igloolik? What was the path to what drew you there? And then obviously, like, you fell in love with it. And
I did. So I came up to Igloolik. I came up to work with the Norwest company for a short contract. Wasn't planning to stay. The reality is, I wasn't planning to stay. I came up, and it's going to be a short contract and experience, right? And to be honest with you, and people, they always, the story that I tell, they always laugh because I had no idea where Nunavut was. No idea that it was cold. There was no trees, none of that, right? So I came up and I was wearing shorts and sandals on a blizzard day.
Who's the new guy?
Yeah, that's how bad it was. Okay, so it was early May. It was a blizzard.
Where did you fly from? Where did you fly out of?
I flew out of Ottawa.
Okay.
So Ottawa was nice and sunny. It was probably around in the early morning, probably around 14 degrees, 15 degrees. So I'm wearing my shorts and sandals and a t-shirt. I love shorts and sandals, by the way. So I'm just like wearing them, and I'm like getting into the plane, and coming to Nunavut, where I had no idea where I was going, but I was just looking for the experience, right? And I get on the plane, and I'm sitting down, and there's an empty seat, and then there is a gentleman sitting by the window, and he looks at me, and he goes, "First time up north?" And I was like, "Yes." And he goes like, "Do you have anything on your carry-on that you can put on?" And I'm like, "No, why?" He's like, "Well, there's a blizzard in Igloolik." And I was like, "What? No, this, it can't be." So we landed in Igloolik in this blizzard, right? And then you had to walk at that time, and it was the old terminal in Igloolik, so you had to walk a bit of a distance into the terminal, right? And I look out the window, and it's just blowing snow, right? And I'm like, what am I going to do? So the stewardess actually on the plane had to give me her jacket for me to get into the terminal, and then they were able to get my luggage out, and I put my clothes on, and then I came up to Igloolik. But anyway, so I came up. I was short-term contract, wasn't thinking to staying, but I went fishing. It was July. I went fishing, and we're at the mouth of this river. Okay, and the river is just running. Just you can hear the water, just beautiful. Sun on top of us, and we're fishing. And I said to the guy, to me, maybe 2 to 3 hours have gone by. Okay, and I said to the guy, I was like, "Listen, I got to go back to work." I was like, "So I have to be there because I got to open the store at 9 a.m." And he goes like, "It's already 10. We had spent all night fishing." And
the sun never goes down.
Yeah, the sun just stays on this. Yeah, and I didn't to me, it was just like, wow. Like there was no sense of time. There was no sense of anything. It was just pure enjoyment and being in the moment. And then I said, okay, this is it. I'm staying here.
Wow, that's amazing. And we're fishing for Arctic char?
For Arctic char, yeah.
Yeah. Had some Arctic char the other night. Beautiful fish.
Yeah, no.
When I was a kid. Go ahead.
No, I said I love it. Is one of my favorite things to do. Arctic char fillet with a little bit of lemon and garlic, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my dad went fishing to Baffin Island and came home with an Arctic char that was maybe just over a meter long, and he had it taxidermied, and that was down in our rec room for the longest time. Beautiful fish.
Yeah. We enjoy fishing. We actually we have fishing derbies where the whole community goes out and fishes. Is something that is just like I said. Everything we do is as a community, right? That's so amazing. We have this fishing derbies in the spring, where everybody leaves town and just goes fishing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Whose hockey jersey is that behind you, Merlyn?
That is Jordan Tutu.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So was he from Nunavut? He
is from Rankin.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah, he is. He's our first Inuk NHLer that actually made it to the NHL.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of community activities are you guys doing in the winter?
Well, we do a few things, right now, like to be realistic, COVID definitely, sort of put a stop to a lot of the things that we do. And So we focus on radio. So we have a community radio,
Okay.
and it's not like the radio you down south where you're listening to music and it's actually everybody calls in, tells stories, jokes around. The most actually very liked show is a show on Saturday morning by Amy. And all he does is tell stories about the past, and everybody can call in and tell their story, of when they were growing up or things like that. So that's sort of like what we do. So it's like, so as COVID sort of came in and you had to stay isolated, you sort of be home. We focus a lot of what we did as a community to the radio station.
Cool. Now, is that radio, is it just on air up in Igloolik, or is it on the internet as well?
We used to have it on the internet, but right now it's just for Igloolik.
Okay, because it'd be awesome to listen to it. Yeah, that's cool. And you talked about walrus, I think, and seal, and so that's all still part of the diet and the food sources, local food source, I guess.
Yeah, no, we rely heavily on walrus, on fish, on seal, polar bear meat. We don't see too many whales. So we do have the migration of the whales probably in late October, early October, mid-October, around that time is usually the whales migrate. We don't see a lot of that. So, but the rest of it is definitely, a diet for us. Fish, seal, and walrus would probably be like a more steady diet. Polar bear, whenever, are able to get some. And then, like I said, the whale usually during the October months. We do import a lot of whale from different communities like Pond Inlet and Arctic Bay, but mostly here it's just like, the mammals around the island.
Yeah. When I was looking at Google Street View of Igloolik, I noticed there's a interesting building, I think a research station.
Yeah. UFO.
The UFO, yeah. What is that? Is that still operational, or?
It is operational. It's actually still a biology research station. Is run by the government of Nunavut, and it's been here since the 80s. I actually elders tell me stories because at that time when it was constructed, the community was more centered on this side, so the building actually was outside of the community. So elders tell me stories. They're like, when it was constructed, that they were like, why are they putting the building so far outside of the community, but now it's at the center of the community? And it was something that it was very unique, right? It was something that, there's no other building like that constructed. And it's just, it looks like a UFO, especially when the lights are on in the windows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's neat. And so your store Arctic Fresh, are you bringing in vegetables, and is it like a food store, or?
It is. So it's an online store. So one of the things that we realize is that sometimes local stores, they have to put the price up because of the overhead cost. Okay, so their overhead cost is going to be higher. So we decided to do the online store to able to reduce some of their costs because we wouldn't have overhead. That was one thing. The second thing is the variety. Okay, so limited space, you can only bring a certain variety, versus online we can have a wider variety. So we decided to also do that to be able to allow people to have a different variety of things. And then the last thing is that, so sometimes when you go to the local store, if it's the day the freighter came in, you're getting nice and fresh vegetables. But if it's, the last day before the freighter comes in, not so much fresh, So we did it in a way that, you're ordering, so it comes in fresh whenever you want it to. It's not like you're going to the store and just saying, okay, well, it's, mid between the freighter coming in and the food running out. So it's like, you're able to order it as you want it to, which is fresh.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just wanted to shift gears a little bit now, and we'll talk about your shifting landscapes up there due to the pandemic. But before that, tell us a little bit about your political journey and how you went from entrepreneur into was mayor the first election that you campaign you were ever in, or a little bit about that and some of obviously you were in a pretty tight race and the roller coaster of that and how that all played out.
Yeah, so I wasn't planning to run. The reality is, I definitely wasn't planning to run. It was something that I sort of consider it, but as a very afterthought. It was something that, it wasn't at the top of my mind. I was the economic development officer and then the director, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed working with people. I run multiple classes for capacity building and things like that, and really in love volunteering my time and just helping people. And so I was actually, I wasn't planning to run. There was people, telling me you should run. And then I had a tour of a mine that I was going to do. And I said to myself, well, I'll think about it while I'm there. I'll have some free time. I'll think about it. And then when I come back, I'll see if I put my paperwork in. Well, for some reason, we ended up weather in over there. And then so plane got canceled for about 3 days in a row and we were stuck, right? So I was like, okay, should I run? Shouldn't I run? Now, my biggest thing was that at that time, our administration for the municipality was about doing just enough to do a job, but not actually looking at how do we actually develop the community? Where do we take it? And ensuring that we were doing it for the community. And as I was there, something had come up, and I realized that, if I want to change this, I have to put my name in. Yeah. And so it was the final day before you are able to enter into the race, but I'm stuck at the mine site, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I can't go to the community and put my name in, and there's no electoral officer at the mine site that can sign me in to be able to put my name in.
Wow. Yeah.
So I called the electoral office and I'm like, listen, I'm looking to enter. I'm at the mine site. I was like, can we do this? And they're like, well, we got to talk to the chief electoral officer. And then actually they assigned somebody at the mine site to take my thing in personally.
Oh, wow.
And so I was, what I said to myself was, if it's meant to be, this will work out and it's good to go. If it's not meant to be and I can't put my name in, then that's a sign.
Yeah.
And it actually worked out. And they accepted my nomination about 10 minutes before the closure of the ballot. So it was definitely, and I won. Yeah.
So election day or night there, what was it? What time of year? I guess it was October, right?
Yeah.
So how much daylight do you have in October?
We probably have about 5 to 6 hours of daylight. Yeah. So to be honest with you, I campaigned at the beginning of the election, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I offer to do for the community. And then I was like, okay. And then I sort of took a back step to it, and I was like, I'm going to see what the other ones are campaigning about.
Yeah.
And then, it became a race, and it was as it progressed, I was like, okay, do I continue campaigning, or do I just let the people, like I have already told them what it is that I'm looking to do, or do I continue to put it in their faces in regards to radio shows and advertisement and posters and stuff like that? And I decided to take a back step and just let them decide. And then so on election day, everybody's, running around asking me how I'm feeling and everything. I'm calm, I'm at home, and we were watching a movie with my wife, I think. And then I got a phone call and they're like, you won. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, you won. And I was like, oh, great.
So it was meant to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, that's I love that story. Just if it's meant to be, it'll be.
It will be. You got it.
And your first week in office did well. Before we get to that, we talked a little bit about the shifting landscapes, and and that was the first time I heard you speak, and I thought it was really compelling. And your platform, you talked about building and bringing new construction workers in, and how do we care for them? How do we feed them? Where do we put them? All of these things. So if you could just share a little bit about your thoughts on your shifting landscape.
No problem. So it was about, how do we develop capacity internally, long-term capacity. Most of the capacity that we have in our communities are short-term. Okay. So we have people that come for a little period of time and then they leave and then stuff like that. So it's like, how do we develop long-term capacity? And it's about really shifting from what we know and is to something that is totally unknown, but progress. So we look at housing. Housing is an issue across Nunavut. It's everywhere. Now, what is the biggest issue with housing, and why is it an issue? So it's really sort of taking an issue and opening up to what the issues are. And then so we quickly realized that housing, because right now we have to bring a lot of workers in from the south to build our houses. There's very little capacity in our communities to do so. We ended up, the cost of a house ends up being about 30 to 43% inflated. Okay. And the reason for that is because you're talking about, airfare, which is about $3,000 return. You're talking about accommodations. You're talking about meals, compensation. So, and the thing, the workers that come up don't want to be here for short periods of times, right? So they have families back home. They want to come up and be able to work. So how do we shift that to building the capacity locally? Okay, so how do we train? How do we ensure that we're cutting, and not to say, but utilizing the workers that we come up to build that capacity, and then being able to retain some of the capacity to eventually having the capacity locally. Or also at the same time, maybe we're looking at, okay, do we have people that potentially want to move to Igloolik and stay long term to help us build that capacity? So really looking at that, would be able to shift, some of the issues that we have with housing. So if you're able to reduce, and not just for Igloolik, but Nunavut in general, if you're able to reduce the cost of housing by, let's say, 35% because of everything, we're talking about every year being able to build 25 to 30% more houses across the Arctic, which would in turn help us sort of fight the housing crisis that we live in.
That's so profound. I just read an article and I posted it onto my LinkedIn about how in Winnipeg they had a small little area right near Maine and Portage on one of the Aboriginal gathering areas, a historic area, and they've are going to plan an area of, I think, about 15 shipping containers, and those containers they'll make them into small residences, but then they're going to offer communal areas for kitchen, for laundry, for things like that. And it's like, it sounds like it's quite economical. They actually got the funding for it other than the operational. So the federal government said, we'll pay for the actual infrastructure, but then nobody's stepping up to pay for the people to run it and to build it. So it's so complicated, but your imagination and energy are really, I think, obviously going to help push this through. So that's really awesome.
No, thank you. Yeah. And and the second part to that as well is that, when you have that capacity locally, and not only are you reducing the cost of housing and everything else, but you're actually also creating employment and creating an income for the people here, who then in turn could potentially buy their own house, get a mortgage and buy their own house. And so you're really taking control of your sustainability.
Yeah. Creating that cycle, the life cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat. Well, thank you so much, Merlyn, for sharing your story and a little bit about life in the North and Igloolik and your vision for a shifting landscape. Is there a place, someplace where we can come and kind of follow your progress, or a couple of links that we could share? I'll put them in our show notes.
Yeah, we're actually finishing our website for the community. So as soon as that is done, I'll send it over, and you can sort of come into our website for the community and see the progress as we develop.
Awesome. Yeah, very good. Well, thank you so much, Merlyn. It's people like you who go into new communities and find that spark, that joy, and then share that with the people that live there and give back, and then lead through serving and caring, which is really amazing. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, obviously a great example of a thriving mayor and helping your community thrive.
No, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I just want to remind people that next week, March 3rd, my guest is Don Mucci, who founded Canada's Top Mayor Award and Bring Your A Game. And Bring Your A Game, the inaugural show is going to be on March 7th at 7 p.m. And you can watch it on Facebook. And I have a link here. I'll just put that on. So you can go visit CTM Award on Facebook. And this is to also raise funds for the Mayor's Food Bank Challenge. So I'd just like to ask everyone to like and subscribe to the Thriving Mayor Show and to share it with your friends. And then we'll get the word out about these awesome mayors that we have and are sharing their lives and their energy with us. So thank you again, Merlyn.
Thank you, Michael. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the Thriving Mayor Show. Make sure to like and share and tell your friends and colleagues. Mayors are awesome and are the change agents to enhance the quality of living for over 80% of us. Remember what Coach Wooden said, you cannot live a perfect day without doing something for someone who can never repay you. Much love and peace. Until next time.